All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. Let's see. So, I'm Giorgia, and with me, as usual, is my co host, Christian. So, Christian, who is it that you have with you there?
Yeah, first of all, welcome from Australia. I guess we just have to say so. The video, Georgia, that we see. By the way, I'm talking to Dr. Giorgia Auteri now, just that you know. She's successfully got her PhD, so we have two doctors here now. It's quite nice.
Yeah, not to brag or anything, but I'm Dr. Auteri now, so it's pretty exciting.
So, so
Yeah.
our warmest congratulations. That's right. So
Yeah.
yeah, the video that you first of all, I'm in Australia at the moment in New South Wales, and that's the video that you see from the drone. The drone, it's a little bit a jagged that has to do with the transfer rate. But I'm very happy to have with me Blake Estes with me. He's our observatory manager. He's actually originally from California. Came for a few months ago here to Australia, and he is up on this mountain. That's the footage that you're seeing in the background, and he's really loves wildlife and so on, and that's why he's here.
Christian, did the
Well,
footage stop? Because it looks like it's completely stopped to me. Or can you replay the video? Yeah. Yeah. So is this looks like drone footage. Is it footage that you took, Blake, or you took it, Christian?
I took it. I took this. It's a lot wetter now. That's a typical type of climate, but we've had some strange climate here, and it's actually quite green at the moment. But that's sort of the typical environment. It's just, well, you can explain it's an old super volcano, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. So you'll see some very interesting geological features in the area. One actually behind the telescope looks very similar to Half Dome, and so we have on the other side. Unfortunately, you can't see it, but it's an ancient caldera, and you can find all manners of things. I just found out recently because it's a volcanic area. They say, "Oh well, you're not going to find fossils around here," but actually they found several different kinds, including a very unique fossil that's only found in the worm mungles. That's a type of, I guess you could say, like a large prehistoric kangaroo, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, so wait, hold up. So you're both in Australia at this cool observatory. The observatory is on an old volcano. There's cool fossils there. There's cool animals there. There's presumably a beautiful, beautiful nighttime sky there. Yeah, I mean, it just sounds amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many awesome things to do. I mean, it's almost overwhelming.
It is.
You almost get anxiety because you don't know where to begin first, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's just
wait. So Christian, you're visiting there for a couple of weeks, doing stuff with the observatory, and Blake, you live there, but you moved from California. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's actually if you look at the footage right now, we'll go back. It actually flies by my house. So first you'll see the UK Schmidt telescope in the foreground here, and that's a large survey telescope. And then over to the right, you'll see this kind of roly-poly looking one. That's a 2-meter telescope operated by LCOGT. They have a global network telescope. Yep, that's our roll-off roof there. We have 27 telescopes in there. And
why so many telescopes?
Well, we have. Sorry.
There's your cottage.
My cottage is coming up on the right there. So
on the right, that yellow thing, and that's quite bright. That's Blake's paradise. Yeah, that's his cottage.
Yeah, but. Yeah, we have lots of telescopes here because Australia is a perfect place for it, of course. So we have telescopes in Chile, Spain, California, New Mexico, and we're constantly putting them online all over the world. So basically, the sun never rises on our telescopes. There's always some that are operating, which is great. So if you want to, say study the atmospheric dynamics of Jupiter, and you want to look at it 24/7, you'll be able to do that pretty soon and see how it changes, which is very interesting.
Yeah, that looks super cool. And real quick, I will say, so longtime viewers may have noticed that we're streaming in a little bit of a different way than we normally do. And the chats from the stream are showing, the chats from both Facebook and
Yeah.
YouTube are playing in the stream. And so I can turn that off. I guess people just comment in the chat, like, do you like it or do you not like it? Do you want me to hide the chat? I guess just for a, I can hide it like this, right? And then we can see the pictures and video better. Or we can have the chat show. And then that's kind of cool because people in Facebook can see the comments from YouTube.
Yeah.
What do you like it? Keep it? I don't know. Well, I'll put it to the people. We'll see what they say.
Yes.
I'll keep the chat for now. But yeah, I mean, so you came to Australia primarily for the amazing like telescope stargazing reasons, Blake. But from what I understand, you have a great passion for wildlife and animals as well. Did that start when you came to Australia because of all the animals, or did that come before?
I've just had just a wide appreciation for everything science, whether it's the very big, like the universe, or the very small. So I've got microscopes, telescopes, and everything in between. And I just find everything very interesting. I want to know why things are the way they are, how things work. And so it's fascinating to see, highly specialized, protozoans, for example, under a microscope, something, that's maybe 100 microns that's extremely well adapted for its environment. I find that fascinating, and how complex they are. And then just the same, the universe. I mean, there's countless things out there that we're still yet to discover, and it's all beautiful. So it's fascinating to capture these things and share them with people in a way that piques their interest and wonder as well. So it's that's what I'm doing, because my actual degree is industrial scientific photography, and most everyone in my family is a teacher, but somehow I got the science bug a little bit. So I love communicating science through photos in any way that I can.
Yeah, and I should say you shared some of your beautiful photos with me before joining on the stream. So here's one of them. This is the first one I picked because I presume it's the Australian sky, and that's the title of the live stream.
Yes, absolutely. This is one of the first really nice sunsets that I was able to capture up here. And so this is facing towards Mount Exmouth, which is the one that has the kind of divot in the middle of it, just kind of off center there. And then the Australian outback out there.
It really is fantastic. If I can bring a little bit of my enthusiasm to this, it is absolutely fantastic here because Blake has, how should I say, the privilege now of being on a quite an ancient mountain. There's some plants here that are hundreds of years old. From the vegetation, you'll get certain type of species that are only visible here. Certain type of eucalyptus. I think one's called Eucalyptus vulcanus or something, like special species that only grows here in the area. So it's almost like a sacred area from a nature and wildlife perspective.
Yeah, and so I know, Christian, you just arrived a few days ago?
Correct. Yes, that's right.
Well, I do want to share, maybe, I don't know if I can share it that well, honestly, but we did have, you shared a video of you stepping outside. Actually, I guess I'll just share it.
Oh, it's amazing. Yes, from the kangaroos. That's just opening my door. So
wait here, I'm gonna pull it up. Give me 2 seconds. Yeah.
Good for you. You're doing very well. By the way, Giorgia is running the show now. Since she's got a doctorate, she's allowed to do this. Okay.
Yeah, I have a doctorate, and now finally, I know that it's can't be seen that well, but this is as good as we got it. So yeah, this is just you opening your door, or is this the wrong video actually?
That's the wrong video.
That's the wrong video. Here, I'll go back. Let me find the right video. Oh yeah,
okay. That's it. That's opening the door. That's exactly here from my room. You come outside. That's it. And there you are.
Kangaroos. They look so perplexed, but maybe they just always look perplexed.
Oh yes, they love to stare at you. They're very curious, and they're like, "Wait, you're."
Is that a baby one that just like is looking
Yes,
at us straight
we have
on?
many babies, and I learned from Blake that they basically have babies all year round, huh? Isn't that so?
Yeah, you'll always see at least one, and then the Wallabies are even cuter because they're about half the size, and I think we get the red-necked Wallabies, so they're very kind of rusty colored, and then they have these patches on their necks and everything, and they have a black stripe down here, and they're just absolutely adorable because their babies are like like this.
That's so cute, man. I'm jealous. So and
Yes, you can be.
yeah, so like Blake, so like Christian was struck by these kangaroos when he first came to Australia. Blake, when you moved there, were you like similar, like what things struck you, or had you already like visited Australia a lot before you moved there?
No, I just came straight over here, and the kangaroos are of course iconic along with the koalas, and so when I found out that they're basically just in the backyard, I was just obsessed. So I bought a telephoto lens and everything because they are kind of shy. Oh, that's okay. But there's one video that I'd like to share sometime. Unfortunately, I didn't remember it until just now. But there was a mother kangaroo and a baby, and just like dogs have zoomies and they go around the house and everything. The little baby kangaroo was zipping around the backyard, just back and forth, and it was just the most adorable thing ever. And so right around sunrise and then sunset, they're out, and so sometimes I'll have like 25 of them along with wallabies just outside my living room window, and so you can just watch them go about their business. We put water out for them when it's hot, and they're just absolutely adorable and fascinating, especially just such a unique means of locomotion, of course, just hopping around. You see them at first and you say, well, that seems kind of impractical, but I mean, it's the ultimate, adaptation for the environment. Australia is, a land of extremes. And so there's one of a kind adaptations for the environment. It's just like, the rainforest or something. They're only in this area, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and I just asked everyone in the chat, like, what do you think? Would you move to Australia or no? Because yes, very cool kangaroos, wallabies, scenic, like sunsets and stars, but also like lots of spiders. And I mean, I don't mind the thought of like tarantulas and stuff running around, but I have seen pictures sometimes of like when you have like spiders that have like made a lot of webs or something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, talk a bit about that.
Yeah, we do have quite a fair bit of creepy crawlies, and I do enjoy photographing them. Yep, this is one of our most common things that you'll see, and some people may be unhappy to hear that, but this is an Australian native called the Huntsman Spider. They do occur in other parts of the world as well, but some of the largest ones are here, especially up in Queensland, where they can reach about the size of a dinner plate. So, my face is this big, and their leg span is about that big, and they are very friendly. They actually like to keep to themselves. They're relatively shy. Although if you do bother them, they will jump on you, but it's just to get away. They want to find any little crevice that they can because they are big and tasty to a lot of animals that are looking for them.
But they're not poisonous.
No,
right? They're not dangerous.
No, you'll see that it does have some pretty large fangs on it, but they rarely ever bite. And
the fangs are for like biting other things, presumably like prey, or do you know what these guys eat?
They eat a lot of crickets. They're extraordinarily fast, which people might not like to hear as well. But,
they look fast.
Yeah, they can run about 10 feet per second. Some of them.
10 feet per second.
Yeah, just like they go after because they are hunters, so they call them huntsmen. And so they are ambush predators as well, or they'll actively chase after things. So they love crickets, grasshoppers, and also other spiders as well. And there's at least 30 different kinds of species in Australia as well. Some of them are very, very beautiful. They have black and white stripes on them as well. But you see, it has very large eyes, basically in a row, and that's more of a predator ambush type of configuration for spider eyes. Whereas maybe they'll have them, kind of in a crown almost.
I see.
And
Yeah.
then,
we have a comment that they heard that there can be spiders in the pool, and then the spider bites you and you die. I don't know about that. Is that an Australian thing or just a made up thing, or maybe exists someplace somewhere else?
It can be. People like to say that there's everything in Australia is trying to kill you, and really no, it's not. Almost everything can, but it would prefer everything is really defensive except for perhaps crocodiles. But everything else, snakes and spiders and anything that can potentially kill you, doesn't really want to, because it needs that for actually capturing food. So that's a last resort sort of thing. Snakes and spiders will generally go and hide, although unfortunately there are scenarios where funnel webs, for example, I believe they were referencing, are usually living in a hole in the ground, but the males at certain times of the year go out and seek females for mating, and that's when they can end up in your boots on your porch if you leave them out and you stick your foot in there and you get bit by one, and they're extraordinarily toxic. You have to treat it as a snake bite. But while we're on that, the brown snake, for example, is perhaps bite wise one of the most dangerous snakes in the world. It's a very toxic snake. And
do you have any pictures of them, or
I don't yet.
No, that's fine. I was just wondering, feel free to direct me to navigate. But yeah, so the brown snake, is that an introduced or a native species?
It is a native species.
Okay.
They're very common in Australia, and they're responsible for 90-something% of snake bites. But since the introduction of anti-venom, I believe in the 1950s, there's hardly been any deaths either from funnel webs or any of the snakes, unless you're in an extremely remote region. But basically what you do is you use a compression wrap, and that will give, because if you get bit by a brown snake, which actually has pretty short fangs, is 3 millimeters. That's a mulga. So that's,
oh my God, it's
okay. Yeah. But if you use a compression wrap, if you're bit by a snake, instead of having 15 minutes or 30 minutes, to get help before you're deceased, you have about 4 or 6 hours if you wrap.
I see. Basically, and by compressing the area near where it got bit, you're basically preventing it from traveling through your blood to the rest of your body.
Yeah, exactly. So you have plenty of time to actually get help.
Yeah, Rachel Rush is the one who originally asked sort of about the spiders, or actually no, maybe it was her. Sorry, but it was a spider that was in a bubble in a swimming pool. So probably a spider that was already very stressed out, like you're saying. It's I don't belong in a bubble.
So the funnel web spiders, which are some of the most toxic spiders, do end up unfortunately frequently in Sydney in swimming pools, and they are very defensive spiders. They'll rear up and they'll do a threat display and show their fangs, and they don't back down. Basically, they don't run away. They'll just fight till the end, basically. But they really do just want to get away. But unfortunately, when humans and animals interact, sometimes there are unfortunate incidents that occur. But
I just want to say, real quick, I'm going to take a minute and say hi to everyone in the chat, because we have so many people, and I'm actually not entirely sure where a lot of them are coming from, because they're not on there's a lot of Facebook chats, but they're not from Christian Sasse's photo page, so I don't know where they're coming from. But anyways, hello to David Howden, longtime viewer, also came to my defense talk last week, so thank you. There's, and apologies for any mispronunciations, but there's Anger Ahmed Ali and Jamie Perry, Lilia Maria Ardiga, Amanda Price, Sheila Walker, Ginger Swagart, watching from Pennsylvania, Darlene Joy, Brian Spencer, and let's see, Ryan Rush, Nams Muesai, Sheikh Irfan, and Katrina Martlew, Gamela Lopez. I think I got everybody. So I just want to say welcome, everyone. It's great to have so many people here. And just as like a brief recap for people joining late, we had a question. Where are you two again right now in Australia?
So we're in Coonabarabran,
New South Wales.
In New South Wales, yes.
Okay. It's about 6-hour drive from Sydney. Really, you go into the, I would say, in the middle of nowhere. That's where we are.
Yeah. Oh, and that's perfect for stargazing, right? You don't have a lot of light pollution from other areas, and
absolutely. And we do a lot of spectrographic observations. So we're breaking apart starlight into proper spectrum, so we can basically tell the temperature of stars, how fast they're spinning, whether or not there's planets orbiting them, all sorts of stuff like that. And the city lights, of course, you'll pick up sodium and LED lamps, which contaminate that. So we definitely want to get as far away as we can.
Right. Yeah. Very sensitive. Yeah. Very sensitive to light stuff. Real quick. So is this like, are you at like Australia's premier observatory? Like if someone Googled like big observatory Australia, the one that came up would be like where you are.
Yeah, you'd get two. You'd get Parkes, which is the big radio dish that they use to broadcast the Apollo 11 moon landing, and then you get the Anglo-Australian telescope, which is a 3.9 meter optical telescope, and that's across the street from the house, basically.
I gotcha. And yeah, what you were mentioning, and we will get back to the wildlife in 2 seconds, everybody. But what you were mentioning about looking at the colors and the light from the stars and being able to tell like how fast like they're moving or spinning, from what I understand, like that is similar to the Doppler effect with sound. So everyone knows, because we experience it very clearly, like you hear a car coming towards you and it sounds one way, and then it sounds different once it passes you and starts moving away. And that's because, when it's coming towards you, the sound waves are effectively getting like shorter, and when it's moving away from you, the sound waves are getting kind of longer. But the same thing happens with light waves, where you get like a red shift versus a blue shift versus it, like based on if things are like moving towards you or farther away. And this that's part of, I assume, that's part of the visual information that you're getting at this observatory that you're at now.
Absolutely. And we can actually, depending on the resolution of the instrument we're using, as Jupiter rotates, and its famous red spot comes into view, some of the instruments are so sensitive that we could actually determine the rotational speed of Jupiter just by measuring the Doppler shift of the red spot coming into view.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, hi Gentleman Ghost and Nancy and Katrina and Carol and Pat. We have so many great people joining us today. Yeah, and so James Bourne says, sorry, I'm late. Southern Hemisphere delay. Well, we have some other. We are a group that's split across the hemispheres today in terms of the hosts and the viewers, which is awesome. Yeah, so let's look through some more of these pictures that you took, Blake. So let me.
By the way, I checked, Georgia. They are coming from the Zossa photo page. They are the Facebook.
Oh,
so
I wonder if there's something wrong with my.
There's nothing wrong. It's all good.
Well, when I look at your Zossa photo page, I don't see the comments though. Who is this?
So we do have many species of beetles here, and of course, I'm not an expert on everything, but these are very common, and I want to say it's a Darkling Beetle, but I've drawn a blank at it. But
I've heard that term before. Yeah, is Darkling Beetle like a type of a group of beetles that includes like many species, or is it just like a very common species?
It's there is a lot of different variation in that particular species, but this is one that we find most commonly around the observatory grounds, and it's awesome that it has
iridescent.
Yes, and it's cool because it's a great example of how light interacts with things. Thin film interference basically it causes this, just like some soap bubbles with oil on them. You'll see the colors and everything. That's just the light, interacting with the thin film and creating these colors. So it's just really neat to see that.
Yeah, that's really pretty.
Yeah.
Can we go to the next one? And maybe we had a request to look at something besides the spider. Maybe we'll move away from, maybe we'll find like a scenic, the most scenic. There's a lot of insects. I kind of like, wow, there's a lot of spider pictures. I kind of like this.
Yeah, I was focused on mainly insects this time, and then I was going to do birds.
Next time,
animals. And then we can even do space, more space stuff if you want.
Yes. So for context, everybody, this is going to be a two-parter. Normally, Christian and I have a different topic every week for the Humans and Wildlife show. But this time we're going to have a two-part Australia, like Australia Animals 1 and 2. So I guess you're saying 1 is mostly at the smaller scale, or is that?
Yeah. Australia has so many different species. They're still discovering, them. This area actually hasn't been explored too much. It's just an astronomical observatory. There hasn't been a lot of detailed examination of all the critters around here. So you could just find a new species of beetle or spider just walking to work if you're careful enough and look around. But just the ladybirds.
There's two bugs here. Sorry, I noticed there's this tiny little black bug on the left here too. It's not just the orange beetle.
Yeah, so I actually, that looks like a ladybird larva actually.
Oh, okay. So there's two of the same species, but just different life stages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, awesome. So exciting. And what is it on, like a flower? Those looks like closed flower bug.
Yeah, I believe it's a firecracker flower. It does look like a string of firecrackers that radiates to different colors, but they seem to the aphids really seem to like attacking these ones, and so the larva of the ladybirds and the ladybirds themselves seem to very much like to hang out around here because the food's plentiful.
Yeah, David Howden says you can never have too many invertebrates. So we do have a large portion of our viewership that is like, I would say those are the two biggest groups actually. There's people that like birds, and then there's a lot of people that are like insect and invertebrate people. So I need more mammals. Come on, I study mammals. And James Bourne asks, what about snakes? I don't think of abundance of snakes in Australia.
Tell them about the snakes.
Mistaken?
Yes.
Okay.
So there's all manner of different snakes that are fascinating around Australia, of course, and many of them are venomous. We do have taipans. We have the coastal taipans and inland taipans, which are supposedly the most venomous out of any snake on the planet. The inland taipan, and they do have necrotic venom. So if you get bit by one, it's very painful because it basically starts destroying tissue as it spreads as well. So that's not very good.
Ouch.
But they're actually very rarely encountered because they're very far inland in remote areas where it's uninhabited, like desert areas.
And from what I remember, like the observatory that you're at now, it is in like a very wildernessy area. Because I was actually thinking of I was like, what if I went down there when Christian went and I went rock climbing, and there's great rock climbing down there. It's very scenic and forested, so I'm not.
You're gonna love it, Georgia.
Yeah,
you're gonna love rock climbing.
I'm not surprised that there's so many like different, like potentially even undiscovered species there. We have a question. You mentioned that we're doing birds next week, maybe also mammals next week. We have a couple questions from my mom, Rebecca. What about bats and what about Tasmanian devils? Yeah, I think we'll get to that in next week, Australia part 2 episode.
Yes, we do have some very adorable bats here.
I'm so yeah. And I can do a little bit more preparation for that too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I should say I'm actually visiting my mom right now in Indiana, so she must be like downstairs in the living room watching or something. It's kind of funny.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'll say hi to your mom.
Yeah.
By the way, just talking about the snake bites. For example, Blake has you have a kit in your car, don't you? Just in case, because you're basically on your own here, right?
Yeah,
something happens.
If you do get bit by a snake, the most likely snake that you'll get bit by is a brown snake. They're very common. They are very toxic. As I said, most of the snakes in Australia have actually pretty short fangs. The longest fangs on a snake in Australia is actually the Taipan, one of the species that we get here, which is a very bad snake to get bit by as well. But usually, if you wear high top boots, denim pants, and socks, and you get bit around the ankle area, you'll probably be okay. But it's highly recommended that if you go in the bush, you wear proper protection like gaiters and things like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say they must have like snake gaiters and stuff. Be really
and it's recommended
for people.
Yeah, and then it's recommended as well that you have a snake bite kit that has a compression wrap and a sling basically, because once if you do get bit, you want to basically immobilize that area so you don't spread the venom, and then you have plenty of time to get help. I mean, if you call 000, which is the equivalent of 911 out here, and I think even if you dial 911, it'll still automatically do it, but they'll actually fly a helicopter out here if they need to. And
like emergency like snake bite. Wow, this looks like pretty habitat right here. But you're saying if we were to like walk through this field, maybe have some like snake gaiters or something on us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's unlikely because snakes very much want to get away because I mean they think you're a predator basically, and so they want to get as far away from you as they can. But if they feel that they can't go anywhere, then they will bite you as a last resort, and that's when problems happen. But this particular type of flower is called purple top, and because we had basically a very, very heavy rainfall season here, wildflowers, we had basically a super bloom, like you'll hear about in California in the deserts and whatnot. And so there was an explosion of wildflowers out here. And there's one image that I think you'll see. There's some kangaroos going by in another photo. But as far out as you could see to the horizon, it was these purple flowers, and it's just fantastic.
Is this we have a question. Speaking of like California, a question from James Bourne that I just put up. Was the observatory shut down by the wildfires, or was the observatory threatened?
So both observatories were. So this observatory was shut down in 2013 due to a severe wildfire, and then I also worked at Griffith Observatory, and we get fires out there, even though it's right near Hollywood.
You have to say where Griffith Observatory.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
People won't know.
Yeah, it's by Hollywood in California. You'll see the Hollywood sign next to it. But people tend to smoke cigarettes there and flick them off the side of the hill, and of course that causes fires. And then I had also lived and worked at Mount Wilson Observatory on the 100-inch telescope that Edwin Hubble discovered basically the modern universe with, and we had a severe wildfire there that threatened the observatory, but it was fine.
Yeah, but just to add, the recent very, very severe wildfires in New South Wales, fortunately, the observatory here was not affected by that. Yeah, so
that's good. Let's see. Let's go to some of the other pictures. Was there another picture you wanted me to navigate to, or was this the right one? Ooh.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh,
yeah, let's look at. There's so many. Oh, this is the one you were mentioning earlier, right? We're just talking about.
And you can see some of the basically the ancient shards of this volcano that jet up out of the ground, and I'm sure that would be a fantastic one to rock climb there as well. But,
here you go, Georgia.
So this is just kind of like, yeah, this is pretty close to the observatory. Yeah, right. That's what I'm
Well,
I'm a bit weird with heights.
me too.
In an airplane,
yeah.
I've been in spins in airplanes, aerobatics, almost blacked out from G forces, but I will not go near a cliff. I absolutely hate it. But yes, this is an area in the Wormbungle National Park, which is about just 20 minutes from the observatory. There's a whole area where you can camp and basically just explore, and you can hike to some of these areas. There's trails that have various levels of difficulty, but it's a fantastically beautiful place, and there's always something to see. And so, of course, I wish I had a drone, although it probably yes, we'll have to go back. Here. But this is the area that I was talking about, where as far as you could see out to where those outcrops were, it was just those purple flowers on the top like a carpet, and it was just fantastic.
By the way, Rachel's saying that spider in the bubble is in the pool, according to the nature show, is a specific Australian water venomous spider. Did you know that?
No, but usually the ones that get in the pools are I mean, there's a handful. You'll see a redback spider as well, but the Sydney funnel web is the one that causes the most problem and gets in a lot of pools. It's a very glossy black spider. That's the way that you tell it has massive, really powerful fangs, and it can snap them down like this.
Wow.
And it can actually pierce your fingernail. It's got a very strong bite to it. And if you get bit by that in the wrong place, like the torso, you're in very big trouble.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It was so cool. So as I was skimming through, I saw that you have a lot of other cool animal photos, though. Whoa. So this looks like some kind of orb weaving spider.
Yes, exactly. And I had been after this one for quite a while. So I actually found this one in the greenhouse of a place called Peacock Pottery. There's a very, very sorry, and this is off topic a little bit, but there is a place very close by, about I'd say half an hour away, where they make some absolutely fantastically beautiful pottery, and it's kind of out in the bush. You have to drive like probably for about 30 minutes once you get to the road to turn in there, and it takes you way out in the back. And so you're in this area by a creek, and there's lots of beautiful foliage and everything. And I found this little guy there, and I'd been looking for it for some time. And I was very, very happy to just see it. I almost walked face first into it, which I wouldn't have been too thrilled about, but caught up just in time.
And so they're called orb weaving spiders. You mentioned almost walking first face into the web. They make these webs that are kind of like just multi-dimensional orbs oftentimes. They look kind of like a chandelier to me sometimes. But orb weaving spiders, as I put in the chat, it's a group of spiders that includes many, many different species. And so collectively, orb weaving spiders are very common. So I can go into the forest here in like the eastern United States and find orb weaving spiders that look sort of more or less like this. Like they have a big spiky butt, which is what we're seeing towards the top of the photo. And then they have different colors and different, shapes, obviously. And so this particular species, though, is one that you were looking for a long time. That's maybe, not quite as common. That's unique to, well, I don't know, is it unique to Australia? Do you know?
No, there's several different ones. They come in all different colors, but this one definitely had a very unique color scheme to it. But usually they have red and black or red and yellow or white. But this one is quite a beautiful one. And then
I think that I saw a picture. Yeah, here is another spider. Speaking of spiders with red and white on them.
Yes. So this is the infamous redback spider. And they're actually not that, I mean, you don't want to get bit by a redback or a black widow. They're basically in the same type of spider family. You'll be in a lot of pain for probably a day or two if you get bit by one. But unless you have a severe pre-existing health condition, if you get bit by one, it's not actually going to kill you. They're more dangerous for children and pets. If you get bit, you're in big trouble. But
so why are they so? You said they're infamous. Why is that? Because they are relatively poisonous.
Well, they like to, as some of you may know, they like to make their webs in places that are not exactly the best. They love outhouses, and they love to make their webs right around where the toilet seat is, right in the middle of it. So people out in the outback tend to get bit in places that are not great, and of course the spider does have a very painful bite, so people are wary about them. But unless you have extremely high blood pressure or heart conditions, you're going to be in a lot of pain, but the spider's not going to kill you. But I mean, unless you have a reaction to it, it's always good to go to the hospital if you get bit by one of these, because at least they can observe you and make sure that if you do have any problems, they can address it immediately, of course.
We have a question from Katrina. Do you have white-tailed spider where you are? I've never heard of that.
We do. So the white-tailed spider is another infamous spider in Australia, and there's been a lot of debate in research about the white-tailed spider. So basically, for those that don't know, the white-tailed spider was believed to have a necrotic venom like the brown recluse, where if you get bit by it, you'll get very large, deep lesions in your skin that can basically take a long time to heal or cause you to potentially have to have an amputation. But it turns out that the venom, they've done quite a bit of research on this. The venom itself isn't necrotic, but sometimes I guess there's a specific type of bacteria that can attach itself to the fangs of the spider and cause this issue, because it doesn't always happen with everybody that's bit, but there's a lot of I guess folklore about it, and so it's a very, very well-known spider in Australia not to get bit by. It's also a very painful spider. They say it burns quite a bit if you get bit by it. And so
I'm debating now, should we look up the other spider photos that you have, or should we give people a break and go to some of the other insects?
Well, like I said, there's plenty of critters in Australia that can deliver nasty bites.
But in all fairness, I think we may also be giving the wrong picture. It's not like when you get out and you just have to fight yourself through the jungle here, okay?
No.
Really, it's very rare. I mean, I've been here a few times, and of course, Blake has had a lot more time to observe nature here, but I've never come across anything that is dangerous, really. So.
Yes, you really have to actually go out of your way to find these things. Like some of these things take me months to find, or I just haven't seen them at all. They're not waiting in in line to get you once you get here. Basically, you really have to go looking for them.
That's it. And if you stick to the trails, the normal trails, and I love walking on trails, I haven't come across anything really, unfortunately. So it's no different.
We should say too that spiders are an important part of the ecosystem. This is one eating an insect, so they're actually good pest control potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this one's I think it's adorable, but the beauty's in the eye of the beholder and whatnot. There are ticks in Australia as well too. But this is a pregnant female jumping spider that's just caught a meal. I just thought she was adorable, so I just took a picture of that.
I think she is too. That's why I switched to her from the centipede. I was like, oh, so cute.
I do have some other cute ones as well, but I've been looking for the longest time. This is why you'll see so many jumping spiders in here. There's a specific one that Occurs mostly in Australia and maybe a couple other places in the world. It's well known. Anybody that's seen a documentary with spiders in it will have seen the peacock jumping spider.
Yes.
And I have tried and tried in this area to find one. They're very, very brightly colored and flamboyant. They have these metallic purple and blue and red colors, and they dance and shimmy, for the females to try and to mate. And they're very, very small. Some of them are the size of about a match head. So they're very easy to overlook. Most people think, the jumping spiders are, like maybe this big but they're very, very tiny, a lot of them, at least the very interesting ones.
Well, this one looks like it's about to get in a fight with a wasp, or it looks maybe like it's trying to defend itself, like it's like backed into a corner. Not sure who's trying to eat who here. Did you observe what happened next after you took this photo, Blake?
Yeah, and it really happens in a split second. I've got a pretty decently fast camera, but unfortunately, you really need a slow motion camera just to be lucky. But that spider was actually trying to sneak up on that wasp, but it was thinking for a moment. If I go for this guy, is he gonna sting me? Because you can kind of see him like, ooh, he's gonna be a good meal. And then he did go for him because he was preoccupied, and it was like a split second, and he just nabbed him. So unfortunately, I missed that. But
so the spider did get the wasp.
Oh yeah, he just holds really still and gets really close, and then whack, just gets him.
Wow, that sounds intense.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to another photo that you took, and this is amazing. I mean, it's really hard to get these kinds of photos where like you're really up close, and because it's hard to focus, and the insects potentially are moving very fast, and you also have a very narrow field of focus. So I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed by these photos.
And that's one of the things I'd like to share if there's a moment, because I'm sure there's a lot of folks that would be interested in taking these kind of photos. I can tell you exactly how to do it. So basically, you'll want to have a camera flash, but it's more than just that. You want to have a twin light setup. Works pretty good because I'm partial to Canon. I mean, I'll use Nikon, Sony.
Well, you're not perfect. It's okay.
But Canon does it is better outfitted for macro photography. They have a few choices. So I use a 65 millimeter macro, which is basically they say it's 65 millimeter, but it's a 1x to 5x. So it's almost like a low powered microscope that you put on the camera. And then on the front of that, there's two flashes that you use. But the secret is actually to diffuse the light, because if you just use the straight flashes, you get very harsh shadows, and you don't get highlights on certain surfaces that have a lot of color. And so if you put like almost like a bonnet in front of it and diffuse it, that's the secret. That's how you get all these beautiful colors, like on these green-headed ants here.
Beautiful.
And yes, it's very hard. It takes a lot of practice, and there's a lot of shots that are thrown away. I would not use a ring flash. I just saw that. While it does provide good illumination, the highlights that it creates are not that great. So I would use a twin light, and I can actually.
Maybe you could show that next time.
Yeah,
David will show it next time.
I thought about bringing it, but basically there's little arms that you can get, because you want to bring it back a little bit, and then illuminate that. So it's almost like a big soft box. That's what you want. So in this case here too, it's very difficult because your depth of field is razor thin. I mean, we're talking sometimes fractions of a millimeter, and so. You want to hold your breath and then kind of slowly exhale as you kind of rock in and out while you're taking the picture, and take multiple ones. And of course, then there's the flash recycle time. So there's all these different variables. And so after a while, you kind of get a feel for how you need to do it. But it does take a bit of exercise, because you're usually squatted down at weird and contorted into weird angles trying to get into places. But when it works, the results speak for themselves. You get these beautiful images like this green-headed ant with these iridescent colors on it.
Yeah,
And,
the colors here are beautiful.
Yeah, Australia has some very interesting ants too, like this green-headed ant. These ones are relatively common, and they can sting, as you may imagine. There's some other ants that are pretty bad. I've been wanting to photograph them, but we basically get our own version of the bullet ant here. But I want to photograph them. They have these massive spiked jaws on them, and they have very, very good vision. They can actually see you from about 1.5 meters away. And usually they mind their own business, but if you were to step on their nest, they'll make their displeasure known.
Oh my goodness.
That's So these green-headed ants, they do not they don't bite though. It's like the bullet, or their bite just isn't as bad as the bullet-headed ants.
They're not as bad. There are a lot of ants in Australia that bite and sting. This is one of them.
Okay.
But it's not nearly as bad as say the jack jumper. If you look at a picture of a jack jumper ant, it just looks evil.
Right.
Yikes.
Yeah, these guys are almost, dare I say, cute. They're pretty. They have a color scheme on them.
They are beautiful. Yeah.
And what about this lovely? I mean, I want to say lovely lady. I don't know if it's really a lady or not, but
I'm not sure either. But I was just captivated by the color scheme on it. So Australia does have some absolutely beautiful butterflies, and I'm trying to head up to Cairns, where it's more of like kind of a tropical rainforest, because that's where they have the birdwing butterfly, which is absolutely beautiful. But we also have the largest moths in the world here. So some of you have probably heard of the Atlas moth, but we have the Hercules moth here, which has a wingspan of probably about this big.
Wow.
It's about the size of a book. And we have another one here. I forgot the name, but it's almost about the size of your forearm, basically.
Whoa, nuts! Yeah. So, do you know what the name of this one is, or?
I had identified it. It was in my keywords that I had for it, but unfortunately, I've drawn a blank. So my apologies for that.
No, you're totally fine. It looks like, I'm just guessing, it looks like some kind of arctiid moth, maybe, but I don't know. Maybe one of our viewers actually knows better than we do. We'll see if anyone comments. But it's extremely pretty.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better not to know. That's what I say. Just appreciate it for what it is. Oh, and here's a bunch of other ants.
Yeah, so these aren't the prettiest. These are meat ants, and they do like meat. But
meat ants.
Generally they'll keep away from you. But they, as you might imagine, they don't sting, but they have some pretty big jaws on them. And if you make the mistake of standing on them, they will also let you know that they're there. But I found these ones, they do have a little bit of coloration on them and just are very interesting. So I made sure to take a picture of them while they were doing their work in nature.
Yeah, and as I just looking up a little bit about them, meat ants are endemic to Australia. So they are a type of ant that's only found in Australia.
Oh, okay.
I believe, if my extremely off the cuff Googling is correct.
I do believe that's correct.
Okay. Yeah, cool. Very nifty. Let's see. Okay, let me just go to a different picture then. Yeah, we don't have that much time left, so we'll try to kind of quickly go through some of these other photos. Oh, this looks like the green-headed ant again. Wow, they're like
beautiful.
They're kind of just like they're like having a little party here on this flower. I love it. So beautiful. Yeah,
they are a big fan of sweets. So any nectar or dew that they can find. They very much enjoy that, and I became kind of obsessed with them, as you can see, just because of the coloration and the dimples on them.
Yeah.
Because I'm just in California, we have introduced fire ants, and then we've got sugar ants and maybe carpenter ants, and so they've got relatively boring color schemes. So imagine my surprise when I finally, squatted down to photograph this ant on this flower, and I go, oh my goodness, it's got like rainbow colors on it. So I was hooked after.
And you got this beautiful background, of course, under the yellow. It's exquisite, isn't it?
Oh yes.
Yeah, I'm matching. Yay. Get in there in the photo too.
Yeah.
Oh yes, it was the Emperor Gum Moth. There was the really large one, along with the Hercules moth. They're very, very large.
Yeah, lots of moth enthusiasts in the chat, it looks like. Oh, and of course, here's a little bee.
Oh yes, we have honeybees here, of course.
Oh, look at him!
And this,
sorry, look at this. I'm so I can't. Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh!
And this is why I love jumping spiders, and most people do too. I've been playing with jumping spiders since I was probably like 5 years old, and they can bite, but I have never been bitten by one.
It is it's so cute.
They're absolutely adorable, and some of them are even floofier than that one right there. But they're really inquisitive, and they're kind of photogenic too. Some of them are very curious, so they can be a little frustrating to photograph, because if they see their reflection, they'll actually try and pounce on it. So you kind of have to move the lens around a little bit. But every once in a while, you'll just get one that's like a curious thinker.
Yeah, and we do have a question from James Bourne. Does Australia, I think the question is basically, does Australia have a particularly large spider population, or is it just a stereotype?
That's a good question, actually. I would say that it does have quite a large spider population. I'm not sure compared to other places in the world. I mean, I'm sure that the Amazon, takes the cake for different spider populations, but I'm sure Australia would be in the top 3 for large, unique spider populations. I mean, just Huntsman spiders alone, I think there's 34 different species.
Wow.
There's one in particular that I was trying to find. I think it's a particular species of badge huntsman, but it's orange, and it has, for whatever reason, it has giant eyebrows on it. And it's the funniest looking thing ever, because it's got these 4 eyes in a row, and then it has like these giant bleach blonde, really floofy eyebrows on the top. And it's just, it's a massive spider, but it's just so, it's comical. Like, it's comically cute.
And I was just looking, and I can't find a good quick answer. I think the Amazonia might also be like another hot spot for spiders, but you know what? Since this is a 2-part episode, we can look more into that question and come back to you all with the answer next week. So yeah, feel free to ask hard-hitting questions, I guess, and me and Christian, or maybe just me, can do some more intense digging over the coming week. Yeah,
we'll do our homework on this. I'm just very much an enthusiast that goes around taking photos of anything that I can that's interesting to share, like this little fella right here.
That's beautiful.
It looks like he's looking up to the Australian sky that you and Christian are so intent on observing.
I know, it looks like he wants to be an astronaut. We'll photograph a little space helmet in there.
That spider is like, I want to go to the moon.
That's wonderful. Yes.
Yeah. Christian and I had an episode on this a long time ago when we had the wildlife and the aurora borealis episode, and we were like, can animals see the aurora? And we were like, I don't know. We just
Great question.
Speculations on that.
That's a good question. I don't know.
And I mean, a lot of spiders have surprisingly good vision. Like you were saying, these guys do, and they have other species have their mating dances and stuff like that. So,
oh yes, yeah. Jumping spiders and huntsmans, I believe, have some of the best vision in out of all the spiders. There's also there's one that almost looks like an alien. It's the ogre-faced spider or netcaster. I haven't been able to find one to photograph, but they do have two massive front eyes, and they look really mean and just intense, but they're actually very, very cute.
Yeah, by the way, I just have to comment on that beautiful light. It really is. I mean, I've taken pictures with my iPhone. I should have shown them. You won't believe it. I mean, from the night sky, the clarity, you really see it's millions of stars, and you get these almost surreal sunsets like the one that you're seeing here that looks so kitschy that it doesn't, you say that can't be real. It really does look like this.
Yeah, this one, people have told me like Australian sunsets are beautiful. And I mean, I lived in Florida for 2 years in Daytona Beach because I was there for aerospace engineering for a little bit. And Florida had some great sunsets too, but this was probably one of the best ones that I've ever seen.
Everything. It beats everything.
And I mean, you've got, a storm had come in, so there's moisture coming off the ground. You can see like a resting cloud on top of, I forgot what peak it is, but it looks very much like Half Dome over there on the left side.
Yeah, it's like the far left now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so pretty. Well, on that note, we're at just about an hour. So any photos that you sent that we didn't get to this time, we can cover next week, as well as some additional birds and hopefully bats and maybe Tasmanian devil. We can talk about other things as well.
Yes.
By the way, just quickly to James's comment, I demand Christian scope from the Amazon next week. I won't take it next week, but I'll take you up on the challenge. I mean, I'm serious. I'd love to do a broadcast from the Amazon, and it's going to be on the bucket list. So I'm serious about that. Okay.
Yep.
So.
Oh, and Kosciuszko is definitely a place that I'm looking to do next because I don't know if Australia has quite the right climate for photographing snowflakes up at Kosciuszko, but there is a guy, Dr. Kenneth Libricht at Caltech, that makes these amazing photos of snowflakes, and I'd very much like to do that at some point.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. Well, we look forward to hearing more about your encounters with animals in Australia down under next week. Thank you everyone for joining us in the chat as always. And I mean, just wow, maybe I'll take, I'm going to go ahead and take me and Christian and Blake all off the screen real quick and just end with a final scroll back through this beautiful panorama shot of Blake's. And with that, we'll see everyone next week. Bye, everyone.
Yeah, and thanks for being there. So next week it's more about mammals and kangaroos and birds and so on. Maybe I'll be able to get some wedge-tailed eagles, which we have in the area. So I'll do my best, okay?
Yeah.
So cool. Yeah, see you everyone next week.